The following program is paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Fresno on News Talk 580 KMJ. Now, live in studio, your host, local real estate expert, Craig Barton.
Good morning, Central Valley. I am your host, Craig Barton, and welcome to the Real Estate Radio Network, the most important hour of radio each week here on News Talk 580 KMJ. Real Estate Radio is a show dedicated to bringing some rational thought to the crazy world that we live in and helping you to rebuild the Central Valley's housing and credit markets. Within every market, there are solutions, as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted advice, and that's exactly what you will hear every Saturday at 4 a.m. right here on News Talk 580 KMJ. Thanks so much for joining us. Today, we are so fortunate to have special guest host Tim O'Hare. Timmer, thanks for getting up with us, buddy.
My pleasure. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thanks for coming back, for having me back, maybe? Is that what we...
I think I'm coming back to your show.
Long-time listener, first-time caller. Long-time listener, first-time guest host. Tim is a mortgage advisor with Valleywide Homes. Thanks again so much for being here. Unfortunately, Michelle is off this week, headed to the front lines to bring us back some great stories with regards to our real estate market. Michelle, we'll look forward to having you back this next week. You know, Tim, the beauty of the Real Estate Radio Network is that it gives us the opportunity to reach so many people efficiently for one full hour each and every week. And our goal is to get you, our listeners, the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market so we can help bring you back home. Well, on today's show, some folks might take a look at the topic and wonder, now, why on a real estate-centered show are you talking about your financial future? Well, today, on today's show, we are going to take a closer look at a topic that many listeners may ask, why are you talking about my financial future? Well, taking back your financial future is what we want to talk about today. Now, many Valley residents have been to the brink and back over the past 5 to 6 years, and some may still, unfortunately, be there. Unfortunately, facing foreclosure, possibly owing more on a home than what it's worth, potential job loss, loss of a loved one, or a reduction in income.
All intertwined.
Yeah, all intertwined, and sometimes multiple times, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, and this is an important question to ask our listeners, is where have the last 5 to 6 years left you financially? Well, where are you with regards to planning your financial future? And are you prepared for your kids to go to college? Are you and your spouse prepared in the event that one of you isn't here, unfortunately? Are you prepared to retire? And when you do, what standard of life do you want to maintain? Well, how has the last 5 or 6 years affected your ability to remain fiscally responsible to your family? But most importantly, guys, to your future. Well, we owe it to you to ask every single one of these difficult questions. And to help us with this important topic, we have Gary Winter with Transamerica Financial Advisors to help answer these and many more questions. Gary's a registered representative with Transamerica Financial Advisors, Inc., a member of FINRA, SIPC, and Transamerica Financial Group Division. We are not here, it's important to note, we are not here to offer, sell, or solicit any securities offered through Transamerica Financial Services. The intent of today's show is to give you information, not to sell a product. If you have any questions about the information that you hear on today's show, you can contact Gary at his branch office at 423 West Fallbrook Avenue, Suite 104, Fresno, California, 93711. Or you can contact Gary via phone at 559-213-9315. Make sure you stay with us. You know, if you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that you hear on our show, call us anytime, 800-979-3958. You can also check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com. Or, Timmer,
you can use press 4.
Keyword.
Press 4, keyword, KMJ, call Craig.
You got it, to get connected right to the show. We'd love to hear from you. Well, you heard me say, or you heard Timmer say, use press 4, keyword, KMJ, call Craig. We want to help show you that you'll only need one button for the rest of your life. Now, what is press 4? to those of our listeners that haven't heard us utilize Press 4 before, well, Press 4 is for all those times that you're away from your computer and listening to our show. Now you can get what you want with just one simple push of a button on your mobile phone. Well, how do you get Press 4? Well, Timmer, you go to the Press 4 website at press4.com and follow the easy setup instructions. Press 4 will work on any phone: iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, Windows Phone, and even phones
that are not smart.
Yeah, that are not so. See, I heard last week that
I was upgrading.
You were.
And I did. I finally upgraded to the smartphone system.
So you're no longer using those doggone dumb phones. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
That's a big step.
I've entered the 20th century already.
There you go. We're in the 21st.
That's what I meant.
Oh, you're still a little behind the time. Oh my gosh. Well, during our show, you're going to hear us say things like, to call into our show, just use Press 4 keyword KMJ, call Craig. And in this particular example, your phone will call directly into our show. One button can really do it all. Or you'll hear me say use Press 4 keyword KMJ HUD Homes, and we'll send more information about HUD Homes straight to your phone. Well, in today's Find Your Dream Home segment, we are going to continue to revisit this particular segment every single week just because we really, truly believe the importance of helping to make the home searching process so efficient for you. Tim and I were talking before the show started, and realistically, it can be a very unwieldy search in terms of, and Tim, you had mentioned, hopping in your car.
Yeah, hopping in a car, driving around with today's gas prices. It's just crazy.
With the Fresno Bee or Guide to Better Homes or Home and Ranch Magazine, and looking at properties that say for sale when realistically, in today's market, I just checked stats a couple days ago. By the way, happy St. Patty's Day. We got so
Thank
far.
You.
Yeah, and you're wearing green.
I'm wearing my green today. I'm ready to go.
And, hey, Gary, Johnny, you wearing green? Yeah, green underwear. Yeah, like always. All righty. All right, Gary, we're going to have to talk, buddy. Sorry about that. That was a real late dirt. Hey, 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's still early.
What do you expect? At least we did wear green. That's kind of a...
Yeah, we'll be ready to go after the show to the local pubs.
To the local pubs. I don't know if they're going to be open that early, buddy. Well, getting back to our Find Your Dream Home segment, some of you are going to be out driving the streets, which can be highly inefficient. Some of you may also be searching for your dream home utilizing Trulia, Zillow, Realtor.com, Movoto, some of the more popular names that you hear in home searches. Well, did you know that there is an easier way? Well, if you go to our resource online, REO, FresnoHomes.com, if you'd like to drive the bus, go to the right-hand side of the web page, go to the Find Your Dream Home box, click on it, fill out the information there, and it will set up your search for you. Now, flip side of the coin, if it's a situation where you would like us to set the search up for you, and when I say set the search up for you, Tim, we can drill it down to cross streets from north, south, east, and west.
School zones.
School zones. If you want your kids to go to a certain school within a certain district. Bed, bath count, square footage, lot size, with a pool, no pool, acreage, 2-story, whatever it might be, we can dial in the search that specifically for you. And I think it's extremely important to note, again, I touched on it a little bit earlier. I pulled, before I got on the St. Patty's tangent there, it is extremely important with the inventories in Fresno County, and I just use Fresno County as an example. As of late, roughly about a little over 1,600 active listings in Fresno County. That's the lowest listings or active listing levels that we've seen in quite some time, which means there's greater competition.
Yep.
Which means that, and again, just
low
to stress,
supply, high demand.
Exactly. So it's extremely important that you are as efficient as you possibly can. And oftentimes, if you're really not up to date as far as your search is concerned, the house has been on the market for 5 days. It's already got an accepted offer, or could have an accepted offer. So it's extremely important. We want to help you shop efficiently and give you the ability to be able to shop with confidence. So if you'd like us to set that search up for you, give us a call, 800-979-3958, or use Press 4 keyword
KMJ, call Valley Y.
And we will get that search set up for you. Well, today, let's take a look at today's hot property. The property address is 1019 West Norwich Avenue, Fresno, California. This particular property is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,920 square feet. Good size property.
Definitely.
Foot home built in 1956, located on an 8,800 square foot lot with a pool.
Nice.
I'll tell you, this particular property is a HUD home, and again, HUD home, all that specifies is HUD is the current legal owner, and unfortunately, the previous folks had an FHA loan on the property, lost it, and HUD takes the property back after the from the servicer, and then markets it as a HUD home. Well, this particular property was just reduced this week from $135 down to $121.5, and at this particular price point, a 10% reduction in this property isn't going to last very long.
Hopefully through the show.
Yeah, hopefully through the show we might get an accepted offer.
Please call Tim O'Hare.
Yeah. If you'd like more information about today's hot property, please give us a call. Again, 800-979-3958, or use press 4 keyword
KMJ Hot Property.
That is your announcer voice. You're doing pretty good, buddy.
That's my radio voice.
That's your radio voice? Awesome. And we'll send you more information about this hot property right to your phone. Look for more hot properties each week right here on the Real Estate Radio Network. Now let's take a look at a couple stories in the news. This is really a follow-up from a story that we heard here on roughly about 2 weeks ago. Now, for once, nearly everyone watching the foreclosure mess agrees on something. They hate the $26 billion agreement signed this month by 5 big banks, federal officials, and state attorneys general. Briefly, the banks agreed to cut mortgage debt by roughly $10 billion, refinance loans approximately to the tune of approximately $3 billion, pay foreclosed homeowners. That's where they were talking about getting a check for $1,500 or $2,000
when they foreclosed incorrectly.
Based upon the whole robo signing situation that happened a couple of years ago, to the tune of roughly $1.5 billion, fund other assistance programs for struggling homeowners, roughly $7 billion, and contribute to state legal services and housing counselors, again, roughly $3.5 billion. Most homeowners who get money from the settlement will receive about $2,000 by all estimates. The settlement largely benefits people with mortgages owned by the banks, and those banks are Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Ally Financial, which used to be GMAC, Citibank, JP Morgan Chase. Now, Bank of America will also fork over an additional $1 billion to settle federal charges of inflated appraisals by Countrywide, which B of A now owns. I tell you what, Bank of America.
Boy, they're just taking it.
That was an arranged marriage, and unfortunately, it continues to get worse.
Now, a quick question for you. I don't know the answer to this, but did they indicate as to when this money might start going out to some of those previous homeowners?
I have not heard, but I can definitely tell you this. The attitudes, and I was sitting with a client within the last week, and the attitude, their first mortgage is currently with GMAC, and GMAC is pleased as punch to talk to these folks about anything that they need with regards to their home. And it just so happens this is a short sale that we're currently in the process of negotiating. And they received a notice from GMAC, and it said, this is our mortgage release program. Stay in your home up to 6 months free. If your home qualifies, get up to $3,000 in relocation assistance to help your move, begin to repair your credit sooner. And buy another qualify for another mortgage to buy another home in as little as 2 years instead of waiting up to 7 years if you go through foreclosure. So they're talking about short selling.
Right.
We are, once again, we're witnessing history. Now, how this all ends up actually shaking out and what we see done, hopefully time will tell. I shouldn't say hopefully time will tell, but hopefully we will see sooner than later money's getting to the consumers,
right.
Seeing principal reductions in mortgages. One thing I do want to note, this week I also saw Bank of America has agreed to begin also principal reductions, and it stems from this agreement, but it's on top of this agreement in order to avoid up to, and I think it was $1 billion in penalties. Bank of America is going to begin, in lieu of those penalties, they're saying,
they're going to give the money back to the consumer.
They're going to write down the consumer balances of all these loans.
Wow.
And the government bid on it. Now, Bank of America is not going to offer
there's no money out of their pocket that way.
What's that?
There's no money out of their pocket that way.
And it also hits their bottom line as far as the loss is concerned. So As opposed to coming up with paying the federal fine, they're going to reduce principal balances on their loans, write that off, and it sounds to me like a win-win for B of A. It really does. I don't see any other way how you can slice it and dice it. Well, we're going to take a break real quick, and after the break, we are going to spend some time talking with Gary Winter, again from Transamerica Financial Advisors here in the studio, to help you take back your financial future. You are not going to want to miss this. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on News Talk 580 KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
All it takes is one call to the professionals at Valleywide Homes, and you'll start building wealth in real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing investment property, let the experts at Valleywide Homes help. There's never been a better time to get into the real estate market. Visit our website at reofresnohomes.com or call toll-free 800-979-3958. That's 800-979-3958. And put the seasoned professionals of Valleywide Homes to work for you.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
Well, it is no surprise that recently Freddie Mac reported a 16% increase in short sales last year and wants to boost, go figure, Timmer, wants to boost the use of this foreclosure alternative. That's a pleasant way of putting a positive spin on it. By increasing the fees it pays participating servicers. Again, there's some cash in this for the GSEs. We plan to introduce, Fannie Mae says, we plan to introduce additional incentives in 2012 designed to help more distressed borrowers avoid foreclosure through a short sale or deed in lieu of foreclosure. And again, deed in lieu of foreclosure is you actually, basically, it's like giving the keys back to the car.
You're signing the deed back over to the owner of the legal note.
Exactly. The GSE said its services completed 45,600 short sales and 540 deed in lieu transactions in 2011, compared to 10,594 transactions, respectively, the year prior. Now, short sale transactions involve multiple parties and are a little more complex than foreclosure sales, especially if you have multiple liens on the property, and sometimes we see firsts, seconds, thirds, and so forth,
right.
Because it takes everyone in the sandbox to get along in order to come to a positive solution for the homeowner. A short sale allows the servicer to bypass the foreclosure process, which can take, unfortunately, 400 to 600 days. Boy, that's a long time. A year plus to 600.
Growing on 2 years.
Exactly. Short sales generally produce a higher recovery than REO sales. Well, I think that pretty much caps it right there. Now, with a short sale, the positives are this. It's a great way to keep homeowners in a home because realistically, you have a property that really has like a caretaker in the property.
Well, exactly. And the areas that you see where there were a lot of foreclosures, you see a lot of vandalism in those areas. So
we just got a phone call yesterday from a problematic property that's been broken into twice. That's down in the Mayfair district here in Fresno. And this, like I said, it's been the second time in the last 3 or 4 days that it's been broken into, and unfortunately, it's problematic. And any of the properties that we've had...
Well, unfortunately, those types of people have networks, too. They're networking out to their friends to come and live for free.
It's important to note that short sales are becoming much shorter. Most agents shy away from showing short sales because they want to get paid now, and they think that it's going to take a year and a half to get paid. Now, and it's also, I think, important to note that 5 or 6 years ago, no one knew what a short sale was. Yet today, and now today, they are commonplace. Again, we are witnessing history. And as it said earlier, there is a financial incentive already, or financial incentives already in place. This is just going to help to increase it. So look for it being a situation where if you do owe more money than what your home is worth currently, expect that your servicer is going to be more pliable than what we have seen in the past because there are greater financial incentives in place.
Sure.
Now, a HARP 2.0 update. That's the Housing Affordable Refinance Program. It is the older brother to HARP 1.0 that wasn't really very successful. Now, the Home Affordable Refinance Program is a program created by the Federal Housing Finance Agency that's now been upgraded, and now with an update on HARP 2.0, how it can help you and how it has been received by the secondary market is Tim O'Hare, our local mortgage advisor with Valleywide Homes, here in the studio with that update. Tim.
Well, we are glad to report it is going to happen. It's official. So it's not just rumors anymore. It was originally posted by our president on November 15th, 2011 about HARP 2. And the program is taken up until, well, officially today before it's going to go into effect. So,
and again, HARP 1.0 was definitely more conservative.
Yeah, essentially what they could lend on is up to anywhere from 105% of the value of your home up to 125% of your home. Mm-hmm. This new program, which is quite remarkable, but there are no limitations on your loan to value. So if you owe,
is this the Wild Wild West again? Is that
it's turning into it? Yeah. If you owe $400,000 and your house is worth $200,000, if it meets the conforming loan limits, you can actually get into this type of a program if you do have either a Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac loan. That's the big key. Do you have that type of loan?
So it doesn't matter what the property is worth.
No.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Again, no principal reduction, right?
No principal reduction at this time. But it would, if your interest rate is, if you can reduce it by a point, or, in some cases you can see 2 points or 2.5 points reduction, that's going to be a huge amount of savings to the client.
So really the intent is they want to help more homeowners hopefully save off potential foreclosure.
Exactly.
By helping to make their current economic environment a little more palatable, I guess you might say.
Yeah, more affordable, obviously. And it's also going to put, you as a consumer, if you don't know if you're a Fannie or Freddie Mac, easiest thing to do is going to be call my office, call you.
Certainly.
Call KMJ, call Craig.
KMJ, use press 4 keyword.
Reason being is a lot of people, I think they're under the misnomer, if their loan is being serviced by Wells Fargo, by Chase, by Bank of America, they think that that's actually who owns the loan, which is really not the fact.
So, like we reported last week, we saw that there has been an increase in refinance applications, but that's largely due to the fact that some of the national banks, Union Bank, Bank of America, Wells, they are doing Chase, they are doing their own HARP 2.0 already, refinancing
with their current clients.
Sal even said in our office this morning he had a client that had done 5 residences with Bank of America.
Oh, and that's another key point. Yeah. It does not have to be your primary residence. It can be an investment property or a second home. So take advantage of the situation.
Fantastic. So we are hoping to hear more positive information in the coming weeks. If it is a situation where you as a homeowner are underwater, in other words, you owe more than what your property is worth, whether it's your primary residence, a second home, or an investment property, it's important to make sure if you have questions, get in contact with Tim. You can call us, 800-979-3958, or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com, or use press 4 keyword KMJ, call Craig, and we'll put you in contact with Tim so he can get your questions answered. Well, on today's show, this is the best part of the show, Gary. I tell you what, we always save the best for last, buddy.
Thank you, Craig.
On today's show, we are going to take a closer look. And I kind of botched that lead in at the very, very beginning, unfortunately, because probably because I've got a little production anxiety here, because I really want to do well in this particular segment. And I say that because there are so many people that I think need this conversation or need to have this conversation if they have not had this conversation. We've got an expert here in our studio, Gary Winter, as we mentioned, with Transamerica Financial Advisors, here to help answer, how has the last 5 to 6 years affected our listeners' ability to remain fiscally responsible? And when I sat down and thought about the best way to really put this into words, how has it affected your ability to remain fiscally responsible to your family, but most importantly, to your future? To me, that kind of summed it up as far as the dilemma that we've been going through here, because let's face it, real estate to a great extent makes our GDP. It's a tremendous percentage of our GDP, our gross domestic product, but it does help to make our world go round. I think to start off here, when you say financial future, Gary, help to kind of capsulize what it is exactly that you do. And to our listeners, this conversation will gradually build, and hopefully we'll piece some. We got to keep it simple, stupid. I'm not that bright. So.
Well, first of all, Craig, thanks for having me bright and early today, and I appreciate you, Tim. Thanks for warming it up. This was been a good conversation, and a lot of what I'm going to say probably will leapfrog off of what you just talked about. So for me, it's always exciting to share some of this information. I feel always an obligation because of the information that we have that provides solutions for people. Mm-hmm. Craig, you and I have had many conversations. We're good friends, and
usually quite long conversations. So nothing's ever short. So
hopefully we'll continue on today and just hopefully make it applicable for people. But to your question specifically, what do we do for people? Our mission really is to help families become financially secure. And I think when you talk to most people today, they're concerned about life. And we're going to get into a few specifics in just a few minutes. But, when you start looking about educating people, you look at, some of the decisions that most people make today, mm-hmm. a lot of things are self-inflicted, unfortunately.
Sure.
But a lot of that's just because no one teaches us.
Mm-hmm.
No one has anyone ever sat down with you and gone through finances before?
Sorry to jump in. I had a class in high school that Mr. Seaman taught us, and it was about balancing your checkbook and paying your bills, but nothing since.
I'm surprised you got that.
Yeah,
that is so real.
It's really truly what happened.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to get that from my parents, but it's not a class.
And I think that there's a little cliche that people don't plan to fail, they fail to plan.
Certainly.
And it's been said that more people spend time planning a summer vacation than they do their financial future.
Right.
Even with clarity, think of what you did to prepare for this today.
Right.
I mean, if we had clarity and focus, it certainly would bring greater value to people and probably less stressful.
Sure.
So a lot of the information today is to help people to, one, better take control of their life and make some decisions based on information that they can obtain for themselves.
Perfect.
So they're good questions.
So from a 10,000-foot view, how important is it to have a plan? But then also conversely, to kind of expand on that particular question, how should I say this? I was going to say, how bad is it? How bad is it if you don't have a plan? I mean, seriously.
Well, and a question for me is probably a lot of listeners may think this too, is when do you start?
There's a lot of questions there.
There was a few. Well, if we look at what you guys have been discussing, like a mortgage,
mm-hmm.
Think if you didn't have a contract for a 15 or a 30-year note, how many homes would get paid off? Probably none.
Yeah.
They'd never pay. It'd just go on and on. So having time for, think of playing some type of a sport activity, like a football game, and have no fourth quarter. If there were no scoreboard, no time clock,
it just kept going.
It would just go on. I mean, you got to have a plan in order to reach certain levels or to get by on certain things that you need to accomplish, whether it's short term or long term.
Mm-hmm.
So having a plan really is everything. And whether it's a short term, whether it's a year or 5 years or 10 years or longer, it's
mm-hmm.
hard to look down the road. But you think about, I've been sitting here listening and thinking about even my place that my neighborhood,
mm-hmm.
and all the lawns that are dried up and foreclosed on, the changes in life that people have gone through. It's very unique today.
Sure.
People are faced with all kinds of challenges that they may not have been faced with. Downsizing, furloughs. I'd never even heard what 4 or 5 years ago. I'd really never heard furlough. Have you? I mean,
we hadn't gotten to that point yet.
So the elements are very different, and I think people do want to know answers. They're looking for them. We certainly live in an educated society.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the youth today. My wife was talking to me yesterday about putting something in on her phone. She had to call one of the teenage girls to come over and help her figure. Sorry, hon. But, to go out there and help
Hopefully
her. Hopefully
she's asleep.
But
right
we
now.
are. That's right. We live in a instant world. And we want everything instant today. And,
sure.
And principles that are true don't change. So saving money, getting out of debt. We're going to talk a little bit about some formulas in a minute.
Sure.
And there's things that if you spend more than you make, you won't accumulate. I mean, there's just some real fundamentals. Hopefully we get a chance to talk about some of those things.
In one of the conversations in one of the many conversations that you and I have had, how scary is it for so many folks that, and you bring up the baby boomers time and time again, how scary is it for those folks that have gone all their lives, quote unquote, hopefully planning, many maybe not, even those that did plan, that unfortunately may have been upside down, may have refinanced their property within the last, starting in 2002, 3, 4, and so forth, in hopes that they were going to pull some of that cash out and maybe leverage it in some way.
And probably already did and leverage or spent it.
Correct.
You know, so.
And now don't have anything to show for it, hence the tie-in as far as real estate and real estate radio. But how scary is it for that group of people that...
Well, if you look at really the impact they've had, I mean, that's kind of the question we've talked about. And when you and I talk about this, we do, I share this because during an 18-year window, over 77 million kids were born. That probably will never happen again.
Right.
And, so when you look at the things that they've affected when they grew up, Gerber food, Mattel toys, they blew up. Not because the toys got better, it's because 77 million kids needed to play with them. Right. You look at the food and
Rock'em Sock'em Robots, Battleship.
That's right.
Hot Wheels are going to go into a toy segment that could go on all day.
All of a sudden, they start buying their first car. They go to college. They start buying their first house, and they hit the real estate. And today, now we're faced with, they're starting to turn 65 right now. In fact, today, someone turns 65 every 7 seconds. Over 10,900 people today will turn 65, and that will happen every day for the next 17 years.
That means we're getting older too.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, who's going to provide for those people? Because
Sure.
the other challenge is statistically they don't save money.
Right.
Not enough to retire on, really, an average of $50,000 or less. So when you look at the baby boomers, it has everything to do with what's going on right now. Tim, I don't know how old are you right now?
Jeez,
I shouldn't have.
I'm 46.
Rephrase that. At least you're not but do you fall in that category of a baby boomer?
No.
Okay, Craig, you and
close.
I do.
Yeah.
And,
You already
not
know.
that we're old,
You
but
already know that I do.
we are at the tail end of that. And I've had conversations with a lot of people, mostly due to my business, where when I sit and talk to them, they're concerned. Mm-hmm. They're concerned with how they're going to send the kids to college. Do they have enough to take that summer vacation? The car is really does need some new tires, but the kids really need some braces, except.
Right.
So when we look at our lives, unfortunately, a lot of things are dictated by finances.
Sure.
And I think if most people could take away those types of challenges and have plenty, they'd be able to make better choices and decisions. Well, none of us probably we don't know if we're going to inherit it or win the lottery. No one in my family is really wealthy, and I don't play the lottery, so those odds are out. But when you start looking at, things that people really want to have, I mean, think about what motivates Craig.
Sure.
I mean, that's a question. What's your motivator?
Wow.
What's your plan? Why do you go to work every day and work as hard as you do? For what?
I was blessed to have great parents.
I just like working for Craig. Yeah.
See, that is the right answer
Tim,
in this
you're
environment.
Such a suck up.
No, it's it's my kids for me. I mean, that's why I go to my kids.
Kids, family, I think there's a lot of external motivating factors. Well, I tell you guys, we are going to take another break real quick. If you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that we are currently covering on the show, we would love to hear from you. Call us anytime, 800-979-3958, or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com. Or, Timmer, just press for keyword
KMJ, call Craig.
Exactly, to call into the show. Well, after the break, we're going to continue this great conversation. Gary, you're doing a great job, buddy, just so you know.
Thank you. Good
with
to be
Gary
here.
Winter with Transamerica Financial Advisors. Stay right there. You are not going to want to miss. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on News Talk 580 KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
Mortgage interest rates are at historic lows, and there's never been a more affordable time to buy real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing property, let the mortgage professionals at Valley White help. Valley White Homes has been helping homeowners with their mortgage needs since 1997. When it comes to the Valley's real estate, we know our way around the neighborhood. Call toll-free 800-979-3958 and put the seasoned professionals at Valley White Homes to work for you. Valley White Homes, NMLS number 342062, 235-952. California Department of Real Estate License 0122-8460.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
You know, Gary, before the break, we were talking, and you had mentioned the baby boomers and being such a large segment of our population during that period of time where you said 77 million people and that
or more that have come into our country now. I mean,
sure,
more than that.
Sure. Well, based upon your experience, what do you think that people fear most? You had talked earlier about folks, not having a plan, or may have had a plan, but their plan was decimated over the last 5 or 6 years because of what happened in the real estate market. What do you think, based upon your experience, that people fear most?
Well, I think they fear living too long.
Yeah.
That they're going to outlive their money. We are very health conscious. We live in a society where we have a lot of technology that sustains our life, so we live longer. And so you have these people that now are getting to where they want to retire, and they don't have any money. So I think that, the fear of outliving their money versus dying, I mean, I think people really don't worry about dying too soon. So when you look at
they worry about not dying soon enough?
Well,
no.
Well, the hardest part is always to take responsibility for our own money, because it's easy to put the blame. But when it comes down to it, no one takes care of your bills but you. And the things you've covered today, it's really critical and important, because this is real. These are people's lives. It's real.
So the approach that folks should take is what?
Well, one, like we went back to, one, they need a plan. And when you look at some areas that have actually helped people to really take responsibility and say, okay, well, how am I going to deal with this? If I get to age 65, how am I going to have $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month income in today? I mean, you have to almost reverse engineer it. What does it take to get there?
First, there has to be that goal as far as what do you feel like? What do you feel like you need to with inflation? What do you feel like you need to in 20 years?
And unfortunately, people feel entitled today, like a Social Security benefit.
Right. What's that?
Well, that's true. Whether we obtain that or get that could possibly be one of your benefits. People have pensions. And they also have different things like profit-sharing programs that some still may exist with corporations. But the biggest one's personal savings habits and their personal savings accounts. And if we had time and we could all share our own personal stories, we've all had them. Everyone has these financial challenges. And so today I think a lot of it is getting a plan in place, it's getting it written down, it's reading it, and with clarity, it's being able to make decisions like buying a house.
Certainly.
Like being able to save money, where you want to send your kids to college, when you want to retire, how much you want to retire on. Those are questions really we don't take time to talk about.
And making sure that you also display some financial restraint, because, and I can say this personally because I've been the greatest offender. When you pay your car off, that doesn't mean it's time to get another car.
Why not?
Yeah.
That's what the car salesman says.
That's not what my ex-wife said. So
That's right.
Sorry. It is a situation where it really is time to display some financial restraint. And I say that listening to Dave Ramsey, and Dave's on the KMJ FM 105.9, it is a situation that it's beans and tortillas, tortillas and beans. And again, he stresses the only reason you should see the inside of a restaurant is if you're working there. And it's all those little things. It really truly is. It's all those little things, because what we end up doing is saying what we need to do today, we'll just put off till tomorrow. We'll live for the moment. We'll do these things, this, that, and the other thing, take the family out to dinner or what have you. Spend $100 on a dinner as opposed to let's stay at home, and it might cost us $35 or $40 to be able to cook that same dinner at home. It's having financial restraint, I think.
Well, we could spend hours on that one.
I was trying to get that slow pitch softball.
Yeah, thank you. And there's actually formulas that if you look at life, there's things that we do. If we put gas in our tank, we can go for a certain amount of miles.
Sure.
If we have a certain amount of money in our bank account, there's certain things that we can purchase. Everything has formulas, even the things that we do on a daily basis. There's structure. Mm-hmm. So when you look at some of the financial fundamentals, it's, one, how much money do you make? Do you give it time to compound? Are you using interest for you or against you? Because that's just math. You've got things like inflation, which always takes away from some of the value of your money or the purchasing power of it. Mm-hmm. And then the last one is paying taxes. And again, we don't have time for that, but taxes is an issue. And that formula can help someone identify as far as what we refer to as a financial needs analysis. Mm-hmm. It's a way of gathering information to find out what are they doing that's working. So you look at, one, their cash flow, where they might earn additional income and manage expenses. Two, look at their debts. I mean, have you really evaluated how long will it take me to get out of this debt if I'm paying my current payments? Similar to your house. So consolidation's good, but elimination's better.
Right.
Interest rates work for you when you save and against you when you borrow. Yeah. You have emergency. 3, emergency funds always cost money. Simple things like I said, brakes, tires, teeth, work for the kid. I mean, whatever it is, it's an expense.
I said broken arm.
Broken arm.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
My gosh.
And unfortunately, people might shift to a credit card just to take care of an emergency for that moment.
Oftentimes, that is exactly what they do.
Yeah. With good intentions of repaying them, but still, generally, like last year's Christmas is still being paid this Christmas. So it's hard to pay that. Mm-hmm. Then you have proper protection. Insurance protection of any kind replaces things of value when you don't have money.
Sure.
Then you have being able to accumulate. Accumulating money is interest and avoiding taxes. Mm-hmm. And then how do you preserve it? How do you hang on to it? Well, that information gathering process for me, and again, I wish I had a lot of time to explain and get into some of those details, which, today it's really to gather or to explain this information. But I wanted to share maybe a story. This is real life, maybe to highlight some of these principles, because this guy's his name's Rick. It's probably someone you and I would run around with, Tim. Probably people that we would know. He'd been working in the that is a compliment.
I think we should take it that way. Okay. Let's just go with that.
Rick's a guy that totally trustworthy, father of 3, great wife, been married for 20 plus years. Hard-working guy, worked in the sheet metal industry, was part of a union for 30 years, and several years ago I met him through a personal friend. And as we got to know each other, there was a lot of things that he was doing financially. And what we did is we found out that one is there wasn't a plan. He had just purchased things, like he bought an insurance policy, and he had a little IRA, and he had a mortgage going on, he had some debt, he had a variety of things. And by the way, I had his wife gave me permission to share this story. Right. But as we evaluated it, we found out he already spent the money. So it wasn't a matter of like getting him to purchase these things, because how they were distributed from different professionals and insurance agents or investment, which are really good people, that distribution style really gave him those products. But there was no plan. He didn't know that in 4 years he could have all of his debt paid off, because he was paying $200 a month, which was the minimum to pay on his credit cards. He knew that he was contributing a certain amount of money to his IRAs, which, he was just looking at what he was contributing versus the outcome. So we'd gone in and made some suggestions, and actually we hired Rick in our firm part-time as one of our agents. So he became a good friend and also a business partner. And as he went out and explained this to other people, his plan took on a life of its own. Right. He started resolving some debt, and he all of a sudden had some nice cash in his savings account. He had liquid cash in a safe at his house. He had restructured some insurance contracts to benefit him if something happened prematurely, and if he were to retire, it gave him some tax strategies or some advantages. And this was a few years ago. And over the course of the last few years, he's actually done well in our business, but he's just done well in putting his plan together. A couple weeks ago, actually a couple months ago, he and his wife had moved into a new home, and he was going down the stairs. And he wasn't used to that staircase, and on the last stair, he missed it and tweaked his knee. And I don't know if you've ever done that. He's over 50. So,
I resemble that remark.
So he went in, had the doctor do the exam, and they found out, you need some work done.
Yeah.
So he had, he was a physical labor guy, like a lot of hard-working dude, and that's how he made his income. Well, he had to go on disability. And this is my version of the story.
Sure.
But long story short, a couple of weeks ago, Rick went in actually for a surgery on his knee. And, coming off of it, you got to go through the pain, all the agony of, rehabilitation. And about 7 or 10 days after the surgery, he had gotten in the shower to remove some of the stuff from the surgery. And he noticed the knee was pretty black and blue. In fact, it was swollen. So his wife told me that they put it in air, put ice, did all those kind of things. 2 days later, a blood clot went into his lungs and killed him.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
He was 57. Fortunately, had taken some time to put some insurance in place where it replaced his income. And in fact, Julie and I, we were together yesterday morning, and all the kids were there. And we were just talking about some of the final plans, some of the things that we're doing, and this is just recently. And there's two aspects to this. You have the aspect of these are people. I mean, the first thing we said is we'd give all the money back to have Rick here.
Sure.
I mean, you could pay him millions of dollars and would not replace Rick. And we could spend hours on that, but we'd bring up all those emotions, and we were there to do another service that morning. And but nonetheless, we had that conversation because Craig, that's what this is about. It's about not selling people stuff. It's about getting in their hearts and find out, what do you really want?
Mm-hmm.
What do you really? I mean, why do we go to work for 40 hours a week or more?
It's a powerful question. It really is.
What are we going to do? What are we really doing? There's so much value to this. Actually, this is part of the noble side of my business. So back to her question, I said, well, let's focus on the finances today. So we started looking at the plan that we had talked about and restructuring. And I will tell you that financially, Rick nailed it. He's a stud. He put in place a plan that provided income streams to Julie, his wife, and his family for long periods of time. I mean, they can live within their means, and they can live actually quite comfortably for a long period of time just due to the amounts of resources that they had. Craig, it's a noble thing to go and be able to deliver a large amount of checks and teach someone how to do that.
Sure.
I'd rather do it when they're living.
Certainly.
And so would Julie. But nonetheless, well, the key is most people we are going to live longer. So what are we going to do? Do you have a plan?
Right.
Do you know how much it takes every month? What's required to do that? Do you know the formula that is going to help you hit your goals?
Sure.
Because we hear a lot of people that get up and say, you need to do that. You've brought up a few, someone even on talk radio. And so I don't want to, say anything that's derogatory, because there's a lot of true principles.
Sure.
But what's good for Tim? What's good for Johnny? What's good for Gary or Craig? We might all have different goals and objectives, how we're going to get there, and utilize different products, but there's common denominators. And we're trying to teach people how to win the money game.
Right.
And we can do this. We can have a huge effect on our family, on generations to come. And I believe that this is a powerful generation to start teaching people to take back our own finances and to take control and make those decisions that will help us build our financial freedom.
Well, knowledge is most definitely power. That for sure can be said. Again, if you have any real estate or real estate financing questions, or questions relating to the information that we're covering here on today's show, we would love to hear from you. Please call us anytime, 800-979-3958, or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com, or just press for keyword
KMJ, call Craig.
to call into the show. We'd love to hear from you. Well, after the break, we're going to continue this conversation. Gary, really good job, buddy.
Thank you.
We're going to continue this conversation with Gary Winter with Transamerica Financial Advisors. Stay right here. You're not going to want to miss this. You are listening to the Real Estate Radio Network here on News Talk 580 KMJ.
This program is brought to you by the Real Estate Radio Network. Visit realestateradio.us for more info. That's realestateradio.us.
Thinking about buying a home? Find out how the HUD Home Store can help you. Visit HUDHomestore.com. Look at HUD homes available for sale near you or nationwide. Why HUD Home Store? HUD will pay up to 3% of the buyer's closing cost. The price of the home is based on an FHA as-is appraisal, which is already completed, saving you an average of $400. And there is an owner-occupant priority bidding period during the first 30 days. Want to know more? Visit HUDHomestore.com.
All it takes is one call to the professionals at Valleywide Homes, and you'll start building wealth in real estate. Whether you're looking for your first home, moving up, or your next income-producing investment property, let the experts at Valleywide Homes help. There's never been a better time to get into the real estate market. Visit our website at reofresnohomes.com or call toll-free 800-979-3958. That's 800-979-3958. And put the seasoned professionals of Valleywide Homes to work for you.
You're listening to Real Estate Radio Network with local expert Craig Barton. Now, here's Craig.
You know, Gary, before the break, that's a powerful example of, as you said, someone that initially, piece by piece, began to formulate that plan piece by piece before he, really maybe had an idea of what he wanted to accomplish. But as he as it really began to crystallize in his head, he then really was able to identify what that plan is. And you and I have had this conversation many, many times, and I always give the example of my folks. And unfortunately, I lost both of my folks a couple of years ago. It's kind of a sobering, conversation today. I always. We talk about that example, and as I've always said to you, I consider my father to be one of the most logical people that I know. But unfortunately, he did not have a plan. He didn't have a plan for, and unfortunately, we began to see him. I don't know any other way to really say this, but living in poverty when it comes right down to it, because living on a small pension from the company that he'd worked for many, many years, and then also off of Social Security, it just was not enough. And how many times do we see folks that, unfortunately, are really unable to survive, or you hear that they're trying to live on $1,200 a month as far as Social Security is concerned, or Social Security and pension, or whatever it might be. And it is absolutely gut-wrenching and heartbreaking. But let me tell you, it really hits home when it becomes your parents. And also in the same situation, talking about my father, not only did he not have a plan where he was readily, aggressively planning for his retirement, and how comfortably did he want to live, and how much money did he need to live every single month, but also if something were to happen to him, and in order to protect his assets, he had nothing in place as well. So
why do you think why do you think we don't do this? Why do you think we don't take action? What is it that stops people from having these conversations and being more focused on it and trying to accomplish in those types of goals? That's
a tough one.
It is.
It's a real tough question to answer.
Maybe generational too, though.
It is different, huh?
Yeah. I know with my grandparents, and they were Depression era.
Saved everything.
Oh yeah. Well, they saved everything, but they didn't invest though. They had an accumulation of savings in a checking and savings account,
right.
but the money wasn't working for them.
Right.
Huge difference.
And it is. So it's like, who do we go to? Who do we turn to?
Sure.
And when you look at the tradition of the industries, from banking, insurance, investments, lending, I mean, there's a lot of great companies and products and services out there. We align with some of the most prolific companies out there. You've got a Prudential, an ING, Pacific Life, Transamerica, Nationwide. There's many that fall in categories of, great services and products. And we found that the distribution of these services is more of being able to find a plan that fits you.
Sure.
And go out there and help them to really find things like how to take advantage of taxes and overcome inflation, and do that analysis so you reach your goals, not somebody else's, and have some alignments with people that can bring value. So having conversations about money, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Think of gathering information, Tim, on a home. It's hard to get because it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to sit down and say, I've been dead, and it looks like I have, a lot going on, but I'm really, things aren't really happening the way I thought they would. So, people are frustrated, but they do want to know. and they want to be able to find someone that they can talk with.
It would really be nice, excuse me for interjecting, it would really be nice if it was a situation that as hard as we push, as an example in the state of California with the Department of Education, as hard as we push as far as all the standardized test scores, that financial responsibility and planning for your future, I think just as much needs to become part of the curriculum so that kids at an early age understand that this is just as important as adding and subtracting. So in short, it's important, Gary, that we have, number one, that we have dreams and that we dream. But second to that, that we have a plan. That we have a plan when it comes time for living, retiring, or potentially replacing us if we are not here. That type of persistence helps to create good habits. And I've always said this, and I heard this from a coach many, many years ago, is repetition is the mother of skill and in all aspects of life, especially when it applies to your financial future. Well, if you have any real estate or real estate financing related questions or questions regarding the information that we covered here on the show today, please, we would love to hear from you. Call us, 800-979-3958, or check out our resources online at reofresnohomes.com. Or, Timmer, you can just press forward keyword
KMJ, call Craig.
You are doing a great job filling in for Michelle, buddy.
At least I can do one thing good.
At least I can. No, you're doing more than that. To call into the show. Gary, thanks again for being here.
Thanks for having me. It was Tim. It was great to meet you.
Nice meeting
Thanks
you
for
too,
navigating us through this most difficult topic. A big thank you to Mr. Tim O'Hare, mortgage advisor with Valley White
Thank you,
Homes.
and happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Appreciate it, buddy.
Pinch me later.
And as always, it is a big thank you to Johnny B behind the mics. Johnny makes us sound so good. Our goal, remember, is to get you the timely and accurate truth about your local real estate market so we can help bring you back home. Don't forget to tune in to the Real Estate Radio Network next Saturday at 4 a.m. on News Talk 580 KMJ. Make it a great day, Central Valley, and we will see you next week.
The preceding program was paid for by the Real Estate Radio Network.